But why is his training speed so fast? Even after spending 2 years in the hyperbolic time chamber, he's only 9 years old, yet his strength has reached this level. Vegeta clenched his fists tightly, clearly infuriated. Considering Goten's young age of 9, surpassing his own strength is quite remarkable. Moreover, this kid has never encountered a worthy opponent before facing Cell. There is no one to mentor him in his training. To become so powerful under such circumstances speaks volumes about his combat talent. Especially when he glanced at Trunks by his side, his anger intensified. Trunks is a year older than Goten. However, despite achieving Super Saiyan status 2 years ago, there has been minimal improvement over the past 2 years. Not even reaching the full potential of Super Saiyan, let alone Super Saiyan 2. If Goten were anyone else, it wouldn't matter, but he is Kakaroto's son. This further adds to Vegeta's dissatisfaction. Because he despises being compared to Kakaroto. The same holds true among their sons. It's evident to everyone that Kakaroto's eldest son, Gohan, possesses exceptional talent, far surpassing Trunks. Now, even Kakaroto's youngest son has become so extraordinary. Could it be that I, a Saiyan genius with royal blood, am truly inferior to Kakaroto, a low-level Saiyan? It's not surprising. To be honest, Goten is much more disciplined than Gohan. When there is no danger and no one forcing him to train, he has been diligently training since the age of 4, persisting for a full 4 or 5 years. Not everyone possesses such perseverance. Besides, Goten was just a child at that time. Observing Vegeta's sour expression, Piccolo immediately chimed in. To be honest, he greatly admires Goten for this. Recalling Gohan's past, even when he started training at the age of 4, it was under Piccolo's coercion. But many times he had contemplated running away. His commitment to training was never steadfast. And this was in a situation where he was compelled to train. Piccolo is absolutely right. That boy, Goten, is indeed incredibly self-disciplined. I feel inferior myself. Goku also nodded earnestly and addressed everyone. If he hadn't had so many mentors guiding him, he would probably still be a primitive beast dwelling on Fire Mountain. And at this moment, Paragus ceased his pretense. Because he had brought Goten to Broly. Now, as long as Broly eliminates the kid before him, no one will be able to impede his quest for universal domination. Ha ha ha. You're much more astute than I anticipated, brat. And it seems you possess a wealth of knowledge. But what does it matter? Since you're here, this will be your final resting place. Paragus laughed maniacally and addressed Goten. Once his son, Broly, takes action, no Saiyan will stand a chance of survival against him. Is that so? It appears you have great confidence in your son. I don't know if this will be my burial ground, but I can assure you that you will meet your demise here soon enough. Goten glanced at Paragus, his tone icy. A worthless piece of garbage with a combat power of only 4,000, he can easily obliterate it. The moment those words left his mouth, Goten swiftly turned his head and seized Paragus by the neck. What? Broly, hurry and stop the brat, finish him now. Sudden death seemed to envelope Paragus, causing him to panic and issue an order to Broly. Kakaroto. As soon as Paragus finished speaking, Broly's previously calm expression grew agitated once more. His jet-black hair began to sway without the presence of wind, and a powerful gust of air radiated in all directions. The surrounding inhabitants of the universe were instantly swept away, with some losing their lives on the spot. Although he had yet to transform, Broly's power far surpassed that of these universe dwellers whose combat power ranged in the hundreds or thousands. Kakaroto. Broly bellowed once more, and vivid green flames like ki abruptly materialized around his body. His black hair stood on end in an instant. You wretched brat, relish the terror more nightmarish than hell itself. Broly will make you suffer a slow and fearful demise. Paragus raved wildly. No Saiyan could match his son. Even if this half-Saiyan child possessed talent and strength surpassing most Saiyans. Your incessant babbling is truly vexing. Disappear. As soon as Goten's impatient words left his mouth, his palm gathered energy instantaneously. The moment the energy erupted, Paragus vanished into thin air, akin to a snowflake dissolving in flames. A scion with a meager combat power of only 4,000 points, Goten could effortlessly snuff out his life. There was no room for resistance whatsoever. Roar! Broly roared once more, causing the entire planet to tremble violently. In truth, the Broly before him resembled the original ancient scion, devoid of emotions. To him, familial affection held no value whatsoever. In the theatrical version, the rampaging Broly even disposed of his own father. On the other hand, the Broly in the recent theatrical version exhibited more emotional characteristics than the one currently before him. At least, upon witnessing his father's demise, he would grow angry and flee. Yet, the Broly before him displayed an obvious indifference towards Paragus while continuously uttering Kakaroto's name. Rustle. At that moment, the grass-green-like aura surrounding Broly's body intensified in its ferocity. His black hair transitioned to a dark purple hue. This was Broly's imitation of first Super Saiyan form. Sensing the immensely potent aura, Goten didn't dare let his guard down. With clenched fists and a subdued growl, he instantaneously transformed into the full power form of a Super Saiyan. Kakaroto. Broly growled once more. He lunged at Goten with incredible speed, utilizing straightforward attacks devoid of any extravagance. A direct punch landed on Goten. Bring it on! Let me witness the true strength of the legendary Super Saiyan, Broly. Goten clenched his lips and countered with a punch of his own. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 24, Chapter 24 Overwhelming Oppression of Legendary Broly. Chapter 24 Overwhelming Oppression of Legendary Broly. Boom! The moment their fists collided, a massive sonic boom reverberated instantly. Right afterward, the palace behind Broly crumbled to the ground. The surviving renegades from the universe were petrified as they disintegrated into dust within the terrifying shockwave. A colossal sinkhole emerged on the ground, its surface covered in a network of cracks resembling spider webs. Hey, aha! Goten's body was sent flying upside down, propelled several tens of feet before coming to a halt. On the other hand, Broly remained motionless. It seemed that the previous collision had inflicted no damage upon him. Goten's face suddenly displayed a touch of solemnity. Due to the impact just now, he felt as if he had punched a piece of steel. The legendary Super Saiyan possesses not only exceptional fighting talent but also an absurdly robust physique, making it ideal for employing Ultra Instinct. And Broly, in his recent transformation, only imitated a Saiyan's super form, failing to achieve the genuine Super Saiyan state. Yet, he still possessed such an immense power. It's unimaginable what kind of monstrosity Goku and the others are confronting in the theatrical version. If it weren't for the protagonist's plot armor, Goku and the others would have been defeated long ago. Ha ah ah! Broly roared once again, clearly invigorated by the battle, which rapidly stoked his fighting spirit. Accompanied by resounding roars, the green aura surrounding Broly's body surged once more. Simultaneously, an enormous grass-green energy ball swiftly condensed within his chest. This individual possesses no real fighting skills, it's just an abundance of inexhaustible energy. In the blink of an eye, the energy ball grew to the size of several basketballs. Then it detonated directly towards Goten. Is this the power of the legendary Super Saiyan Broly? It's undeniably formidable, even Super Perfect Cell doesn't stand a chance. While Goten was consumed by immense dread, his body vanished in an instant, teleporting to another location. Rumble. The ground was instantly obliterated by the grass-green energy ball, creating the largest sinkhole yet. A visible semicircle of energy surged from the ground. In that moment, Goten's figure appeared suspended in midair. He tightly clenched his fists, and blue electrical arcs crackled around his body. His golden hair stood on end, emanating an aura akin to a jet. He had ascended to Super Saiyan 2. Given Broly's energy display just now, it was apparent that Super Saiyan's full power form alone was insufficient to match him. The disparity in strength was astronomical. If this individual were to acquire some combat techniques, his power would be unbelievably formidable. Furthermore, Broly's aura seemed to be rapidly expanding with each passing moment. Roar! Broly continued to roar ferociously. Subsequently, one green energy ball after another burst forth from his body. The surrounding mountain peaks crumbled incessantly, and enormous craters dotted the ground. What was once a desolate planet had transformed into a scene of utter devastation, resembling an earthly purgatory. As his energy continued to surge, Broly underwent yet another transformation. His originally brown hair now took on a vibrant shade of grass green, while his pupils disappeared entirely. It appeared as if he had lost all semblance of sanity. This was Broly's true legendary form. Moreover, his aura had undergone an earth-shattering change since moments ago. Is this the form of the legendary Super Saiyan? This powerful aura is simply incomparable to Super Saiyan 2. It's unbelievable that even after Goku absorbed Vegeta and Gohan's ki in the theatrical version, he was still able to defeat this monster. Feeling the overwhelming sense of oppression, Goten thought to himself in horror. Having personally experienced this immense aura, he became even more convinced that Broly's demise in the movie version was solely due to the plot and the duration of the movie, thanks to the protagonist's plot armor. During that time, Goku and Gohan could only achieve the full-power Super Saiyan state. As for Vegeta and Trunks, they were even weaker. No matter how much energy they put into their attacks, Goku merely piercing Broly's body with a punch was nothing but a joke. Originally standing over 2 meters tall, Goten appeared like a child in front of him. Such an evident gap, no matter how you look at it, is highly inconsistent. By this point, after completing his transformation, Broly had reached a height of over 3 meters, resembling a colossal giant. Broly had finished his transformation and ceased growling like a beast. Although his eyes remained vacant at this moment, Broly had evidently regained his sanity. However, he had fully transformed into an ancient beast driven solely by the urge to kill. Then his vacant eyes locked onto Goten. A bloodthirsty grin formed at the corner of his mouth. In a devilish voice, he uttered, "I know you're not Kakarot, but I sense the exact same energy from your body as Kakarot. Moreover, you bear such a striking resemblance to Kakarot, so I'll use you as a blood sacrifice." As soon as the diabolical voice trailed off, Broly lunged towards Goten once again. This individual's speed had undergone a qualitative change. His massive body resembled a hill, covered in sinews and flesh, with a physique akin to copper skin and iron bones. When one beholds this creature, an overwhelming sense of helplessness cannot be avoided. The feeling of oppression is truly overwhelming. Meanwhile, on King Kai's small planet. Initially, his planet disappeared with Cell's explosion. However, over the past 8 years, he had reconstructed a small planet by himself. It was nearly identical in size and all other aspects to its previous state. During these 8 years, Goku and Vegeta had been training here with the special permission of King Yama. At this moment, Goku was quite perplexed. Ah! What's happening? That Saiyan named Broly seems to harbor a deep hatred towards me. But I've never met him, let alone fought him. Do you know anything about Broly, Vegeta? Goku looked at Vegeta with an innocent expression, seeking answers. After all, Vegeta was the prince of the Saiyans, so perhaps he knew something about Broly. TSK. How would I know? I've never heard the name Broly either. Vegeta turned his head and replied arrogantly. However, his self-confidence had taken a significant blow. Clearly, he was the Scion genius, the proud prince of the Scions. Being surpassed by Kakarot was one thing, he had grown accustomed to it over the years. But now, there was another legendary Super Saiyan, Broly. The absurdity knew no bounds. What's the deal then? Goku continued, scratching his head in confusion. At that moment, Goten observed Broly rushing towards him and muttered, "Your attacking method is just too straightforward." Then his eyes froze, and he raised his right hand high. A golden energy instantly condensed in the palm of his hand, transforming into a round disc of air. Destructo Disc, 100 Blades. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 25, Chapter 25. Chapter 25. This is Krillin's unique technique, although it may not be very effective against an overwhelmingly powerful opponent. However, Broly's fighting style is too simplistic, lacking any strategic thinking. Perhaps the Destructo Disc can inflict some damage on him. After all, a rampaging Scion like him wouldn't likely evade such an attack. As expected, Broly charged towards Goten at top speed. He showed no intention of avoiding the Destructo Disc at all. Just as the Destructo Disc was about a meter away from him, Broly suddenly gasped. Roar! Accompanied by the roar, the vibrant green aura around his body surged once again. The key flames surrounding him abruptly blocked the Destructo Disc, leaving Goten extremely surprised. It's worth noting that the Destructo Disc is an attack capable of inflicting serious damage. Click! Right when Goten was taken aback, a crisp sound echoed. Immediately, cracks appeared on the 100 Destructo Discs. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into specks of golden starlight, then vanished. However, Broly's speed remained unaffected as he continued to charge straight at Goten. His attack was still just as straightforward, and as the punch came, Goten quickly raised his arms to defend. Boom! The moment of impact unleashed a force as vast as the universe. A sudden tingling sensation spread through his arms, and his body uncontrollably retreated. His feet scraped against the ground as he retreated 100 feet before coming to a stop. Broly flipped his palm, instantly condensing vibrant green energy. He then hurled it directly at Goten. In an instant, the energy ball transformed into a dozen smaller energy balls, resembling a shotgun blast. Goten didn't dare to be complacent in the slightest. He leaped into the air, and simultaneously, the ground beneath him exploded. Rumble! Countless craters were formed once again. It seems I have to confront this guy head-on. If I try to prolong the battle, I won't stand a chance against Broly. Goten's face turned extremely serious as he pondered inwardly. Against an ordinary opponent, a prolonged battle might prove advantageous. Even a battle of attrition can be a viable tactic. But when facing Broly, such tactics are utterly useless and would only put him at a severe disadvantage. As time passes, Broly will only grow stronger, with his power continuously increasing. It's as if his strength keeps escalating with each passing moment. Engaging in a protracted battle with someone like him is akin to seeking death. It needs to be resolved quickly. If the Super Saiyan 2 form can't defeat Broly, then the only option is to utilize Ultra Instinct Sign and completely overcome him. After all, his ultimate goal was to challenge and surpass Broly's incredible bloodline. How he wins the battle or attains the bloodline is of no importance to him. His primary concern is survival. Becoming stronger and surpassing those who are genuinely powerful is his ultimate objective. Just as Goten was contemplating, a massive energy ball once again condensed within Broly's chest. Then, it detonated directly towards Goten. Once again, Goten's body flashed, easily dodging the attack. Broly's strength is undoubtedly formidable,
and the power of his energy ball is overwhelming.
However, Broly, in his state of rampage, lacks any combat experience, and his attacks are quite predictable. Therefore, deliberately evading such attacks proves difficult and challenging. Especially for Goten, whose strength has reached the mid-stage of Super Saiyan 2, he possesses exceptional speed.
Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, Goku and the others appeared tense and apprehensive. Furrowed brows and clenched fists, they closely monitored the battle with intense focus. That Broly has an incredibly fierce and violent temper. Furthermore, his aura seems to be expanding as the battle progresses. He's entirely different from you, Piccolo swiftly offered an accurate assessment.
After Goku and Vegeta attain Super Saiyan form, their stamina and energy deplete swiftly.
Super Saiyan transformation inherently demands significant physical energy.
However, this Saiyan named Broly appears to be an exception to the rule. His aura continues to grow, and his speed is remarkable. If this continues, Broly might end up killing Goten.
Indeed. I sense it too.
It's truly astonishing that such an abnormal Saiyan still exists in this world.
Goku nodded gravely in agreement.
At this moment, he genuinely wishes to join the fight and aid Goten against Broly.
However, he is currently deceased and unable to intervene in the affairs of the living realm.
Thus, all he can do now is anxiously await the outcome.
Come on, Goten. You must prevail. You are Earth's final Saiyan. Gohan cheered for Goten, providing words of encouragement. Goten stands as the last Saiyan warrior on Earth.
If he falls in battle, it would be catastrophic if future crises arise on Earth. You guys are overly worried. Although there is indeed a considerable gap in strength between Goten and Broly based on the current situation. But don't forget, just 2 months ago, Cell's strength surpassed Goten's as well.
And yet, Goten defeated him within seconds.
Let me also inform you that when Goten defeated Cell, a surge of divine power emanated from his body and energy that humans have yet to comprehend. Observing everyone's solemn expressions, King Kai earnestly spoke from the side.
His intent was not to appease their emotions but to convey the truth.
During Goten's battle with Cell 2 months ago, when Goten swiftly vanquished Cell, a burst of godly energy indeed erupted from his body.
However, ordinary humans remain oblivious to such occurrences. At that moment, Goten was destined for greatness. The power of a god? In Goten? How is that possible? Don't jest around. Science mastering godly power?
Not to mention a child like Goten who has no mentor.
Master Kai, are you speaking the truth? Upon hearing this, everyone was astoundingly surprised.
If King Kai was not deceiving them, then Goten had surpassed all expectations. One must understand that these individuals possess a vague understanding of the power of gods. Yet, being able to obliterate Super Cell instantaneously implies the immense might of that godly power.
Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 26, Chapter 26. Chapter 26.
At this moment, Goten has already made up his mind to confront Broly head-on. He had taken 3 additional Senzu beans from Karen beforehand. Even if he sustains serious injuries in battle, as long as he doesn't die, he can recover immediately. Saiyans also possess a passive skill that grants them immense power after recovering from near death.
The energy is continuously surging.
After Broly unleashed the energy ball, he felt the power within his body rapidly expanding once again. Every fiber in his body trembled.
Now that Broly had transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan, he could actually maintain control over his rationality.
However, he would become more irritable and bloodthirsty.
Roar!
As the energy within his body continued to surge, Broly let out another roar.
His overwhelming aura was unleashed in an instant.
A massive grass-green energy barrier formed around his body, from which countless energy balls were released.
Rumble. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever the energy balls went, destruction followed. The entire planet was already on the verge of collapse.
It seemed that with each passing second, complete annihilation was imminent. Goten skillfully evaded all the energy balls.
Swiftly, in the next moment, he swiftly dodged towards Broly.
"The battle begins now, Broly," Goten said with utmost seriousness.
Until now, he had merely been evading Broly's attacks, so it wasn't a true fight. Now, the real battle would commence.
"Real battle?"
Broly sneered.
"Ha ha 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 ha.
Trash. Do you think you're qualified to fight me just because of that?"
"In my eyes, you're nothing but a bug," Broly's voice dripped with disdain, his blank white eyes reflecting his contempt. In his view, Goten was nothing more than a pitiful little insect, a piece of garbage unworthy of his attention, easily crushed to death. However, since this child was Kakarot's son, Broly wouldn't allow him to die so easily. He wanted to vent all the anger he had accumulated towards Kakarot over the past few decades on his son.
"Yeah?" Goten responded.
"That's quite a coincidence because my perspective aligns surprisingly well with yours. In my eyes, you're also trash, an insignificant bug without a foundation," Goten sneered back at Broly, his mouth curling into a smirk. Broly didn't get angry at Goten's words, instead, he let out an eerie chuckle.
"Hee hee ha," he laughed devilishly.
"You and your father, Kakarot, are exactly the same, weak and repugnant.
As a reward, I will make you experience the terror brought forth by a devil."
After Broly's maniacal voice faded away, his body flickered, resembling a colossal plowing machine that left behind a shocking trail on the ground. In an instant, he appeared in front of Goten like a ghost. Despite his massive size, Broly's speed remained unaffected. It was astonishingly swift, nearly instantaneous.
After materializing in front of Goten, Broly launched an uppercut. Goten swiftly clasped his hands, quickly blocking Broly's attack.
In the moment his body was propelled upward, he delivered a powerful knee strike to Broly's chin. However, even with all his strength behind it, it only managed to slightly tilt Broly's head back.
"Is this guy's body really this resilient?" Goten pondered.
"I hit him with all my might, and all it did was make his head tilt back."
Hovering in midair, Goten's face displayed a mix of horror and disbelief.
While he knew that the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline was undoubtedly potent, he hadn't expected it to be this astonishing.
His full strength couldn't push him back.
Although he had suspected that this guy might be immensely strong, this level of physical power was just too staggering. At this point, Broly pursed his lips and raised his head, casting a disdainful glance at Goten.
"Ha! Is this your strength?" Broly taunted. "Just as weak as I imagined."
His eyes and the way he licked his lips seemed to embody a demon emerging from the depths of hell. Merely standing there was enough to send shivers down many people's spines. It was the essence of oppression, a feeling only Broly standing before him could evoke. The new version of Broly simply didn't possess it.
"Ha, ha!" Goten didn't waste words and ignited once more.
Blue lightning crackled and flickered around his body like tiny serpents, while the golden key surrounding him grew more turbulent.
Gathering his energy, Goten dashed forward again. His punch landed directly and forcefully on Broly's chest. Boom! A dull thud resonated, yet Broly remained motionless.
His devilish grin persisted as he peered down at Goten like a god of war returning from the depths of hell.
"Ha, ha, ha!" Broly's mocking laughter echoed once more. "Is this the best you can do, you piece of garbage?"
In the next moment, Broly moved like lightning, seizing Goten and pressing him down onto the ground, causing sparks and lightning to furiously scatter. The impact carved a trench several tens of feet long into the ground.
Goten's black martial arts uniform instantaneously became tattered, bearing the marks of the intense battle.
Broly then flung Goten's body into the air and raised his hand, unleashing a precise palm cannon.
Boom!
A cloud of black smoke suddenly exploded in the sky, and Goten's body was propelled out of the smoke. A long trail of black smoke trailed behind him as he crashed heavily into a mountain peak hundreds of meters away. Wounds of varying severity adorned his body, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth.
Despite this, Goten's eyes remained unwavering, filled with determination and a hint of excitement. The legendary Super Saiyan bloodline truly possessed unimaginable strength. If he could tap into it fully, he would undoubtedly be able to utilize Ultra Instinct's sign for an extended period.
Bark! Goten ripped off the remnants of his tattered martial arts uniform.
It looks like I have to resort to Ultra Instinct, Goten declared. If I continue fighting this guy, Ultra Instinct might not be enough. Goten swiftly made up his mind.
Though the Broly before him wasn't as terrifying as the one surpassing Dragon Ball Super, his power was still skyrocketing at an alarming rate.
If they continued to engage in this drawn-out battle, the tables might turn against him. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 27, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 27, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan. Chapter 27, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan. Broly, I must admit that your strength is truly astonishing.
The lineage of the legendary Super Saiyan is even more formidable than I had imagined.
With just the power of Super Saiyan, I am clearly no match for you. The gap between us is immense.
However, I am determined to defeat you as swiftly as possible. Goten spoke to Broly in a serious tone, his mind made up. Indeed, he was about to tap into the Ultra Instinct.
In his current Super Saiyan 2 form, it is simply insufficient to overcome Broly.
Even attaining the Super Saiyan 3 form in a critical moment may not guarantee victory over Broly.
Moreover, Broly's strength only intensifies as the battle prolongs.
To prevent any mishaps, this battle must come to an end. Perhaps, if we were looking at Broly from the Dragon Ball Super movie, there might still be a chance to befriend him. But this particular Broly, once he loses control, it becomes impossible to rein him in. As he himself proclaimed, the Broly standing before him is undoubtedly a true devil.
How can one possibly befriend such a pure devil?
Hence, our only option is to eliminate Broly entirely to avoid future troubles.
Insignificant. Just because you desire to defeat me?
Broly remains dismissive of Goten's words.
He has just witnessed Goten's power in its entirety. No matter how much his strength multiplies, it is utterly impossible to overcome Broly. It's simply a fool's errand.
Furthermore, Broly senses his own aura growing exponentially once again.
Goten refrains from further speech.
Instead, he takes out a Senzu bean and consumes it, rapidly restoring his physical strength. The injuries on his body instantaneously heal, leaving no trace.
He then closes his eyes slightly and reverts from his Super Saiyan transformation. A long exhalation of energy escapes him.
Once again, silver streaks emanate from his entire body.
At this moment, his aura becomes entirely elusive, impossible to detect. Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, Goku and Vegeta display surprise once again.
Goten's ki has vanished completely. Even King Kai, with his extraordinary powers, fails to sense Goten's presence.
Goten's ki has disappeared again.
Looks like he's going to employ the form that defeated Cell previously. Noticing the absence of Goten's ki, Goku promptly speaks up. Since they are unfamiliar with it, they can only refer to it as the form.
To their understanding, it might be a variation of the Super Saiyan form.
However, it appears to be significantly more potent than the standard Super Saiyan form.
The godly energy. This time, Goten's godly energy is even more formidable.
King Kai's plump figure trembles uncontrollably. The overwhelming godly energy radiating from Goten fills him with great unease. This power can only be mastered by a mighty deity. The mere ruler of the world naturally feels an overwhelming sense of oppression. The Broly that Goten is currently facing seems much stronger than the Cell from back then. I wonder if Goten can emerge victorious.
Gohan expresses his concern. After all, Goten is the last Saiyan warrior on Earth.
If anything were to happen to him, the future of the Earth would be in jeopardy. No need to worry.
Although that Broly is indeed a demonic presence. Even if it were a few of you, you might not be able to defeat him. But Goten is absolutely fine.
Seeing the worried expressions of everyone, King Kai spoke with confidence.
Only he can sense the immense godly energy within Goten's body.
Therefore, he knows very well how powerful Goten has become.
It seems that Goten has mastered an extraordinary ability.
Hehe, speaking of which, I feel the urge to spar with Goten.
Goku smiled eagerly and expressed his desire.
Although they've been together even after death, Vegeta has never been a match for him.
And Gohan can't tap into his powerful fighting talent without immense pressure.
Thus, the past 8 years of training have propelled Goku's strength far beyond the others. Although they often train together, the desire to fight against them is non-existent.
However, Goten and Broly at this moment have ignited Goku's excitement.
Unfortunately, he is now deceased. He has no means to face off against Goten and Broly.
Meanwhile, on the other side,
the silver streaks around Goten's body grew thicker and denser.
Broly observed Goten with suspicion.
He sensed Goten's aura completely vanishing in an instant. And also observed Goten reverting from his Super Saiyan transformation. He was unsure of what this kid was planning. Nevertheless, Broly paid no mind. No matter what Goten was up to, he would ultimately meet his demise at Broly's hands.
He.
Broly clenched his teeth, and a bloodthirsty grin crept onto his lips.
He then lunged toward Goten in a sudden burst of movement.
Swish!
With a single punch, the force behind it seemed to distort the space instantly.
Goten, with his eyes still closed, yet, it appeared as if his entire body possessed eyes, evading Broly's punch effortlessly.
He.
To his surprise, his attack was once again easily dodged. Broly gritted his teeth and unleashed a flurry of punches. Swish, swish, swish. One after another, the sound of punches breaking through the air echoed. The air rippled from the impact. However, despite hundreds of attacks, none managed to touch Goten's body. Then, in the next second, Goten's eyes suddenly opened. A flash of silver light appeared in his pupils. Immediately, the silver aura surrounding his body trembled. His hair returned to its calm state, and his expression remained serene, unaffected by any emotions.
Ha!
Upon witnessing Goten's entire being engulfed in a silver aura, Broly froze, clearly taken aback. Yet, Goten had no intention of granting him time to be surprised.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 28, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan Part LL. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 28, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan Part LL. Chapter 28, Ultra Instinct vs. Legendary Saiyan Part LL. The moment the silver light in the pupils flowed, the body vanished like a specter.
The speed was ridiculously swift, and after images materialized one after another in midair. If the cartoon is played frame by frame, it would appear normal. Before Broly could recover from his astonishment, Goten's figure had already materialized in front of him.
Then, a straight punch forcefully landed on Broly's stomach. Boom! Wow! At the instant the low crash resounded, a mouthful of blood gushed out from Broly's mouth.
Broly's colossal body, standing over 3 meters tall, was also thrown back hundreds of feet by the force of the punch.
Ugh! Broly clutched his belly in agony.
At that moment, he felt as if his stomach had been completely compressed, experiencing a piercing colic. Despite his tremendous strength in his berserk state, and his body being resilient enough, the power of that punch from Goten in Ultra Instinct was incredibly terrifying.
Roar ah ah ah!
The pain continued to assail Broly, causing him to howl like a heart-wrenching beast. The grass-green light within his body intensified even more. Whoosh!
Goten didn't hesitate for a moment.
His body flickered and reappeared like a phantom. Then, he executed a graceful roundhouse kick, striking Broly's neck forcefully with his foot.
Boom! Rumble!
Broly's massive body crashed directly into the ground, creating a tremendous sinkhole.
At this moment, Goten had no intention of showing mercy. Because even in his current state, utilizing Ultra Instinct, he could only maintain it for less than half a minute.
If Broly wasn't dealt with completely within that time frame, dire consequences awaited his body. Then, Broly would be like a helpless fish on a chopping board, ready to be slaughtered. After kicking Broly into the ground, Goten leaped into the air and hovered. Whoosh! He swiftly gathered energy with one hand. In an instant, a silver energy light bullet was condensed. This was pure divine-like force, and no matter how robust Broly's body was, it was impossible for him to withstand it.
Boom! Rumble!
The energy ball struck Broly precisely.
Amidst the deafening roar, the entire planet began to tremble.
The ground was punctured by the shockwaves, and scarlet magma surged furiously. And once again, Broly's body came into view for Goten. At this moment, his colossal frame was covered in wounds. Bloodstains adorned the corners of his mouth and eyes, yet he appeared even more enraged.
Like an awakened ancient beast, he bared his teeth. His aura became even more terrifying. Clearly, Broly, driven by the agony, grew stronger and more vicious in that instant.
Gradually losing control to his primal instincts, he started to lose touch with his own consciousness.
Actually, he resisted?
This guy's tenacity is unbelievable, Goten exclaimed, looking at Broly, who had only sustained a few injuries.
Roar! Another frenzied roar escaped Broly's throat.
Soon after, the green energies surrounding his body became increasingly ominous. Energy balls were continuously released from all around the body, wreaking havoc wherever they went. The ground crumbled beneath their impact, and scarlet magma surged relentlessly. The entire planet lay in ruins, and it was estimated that within a minute, the planet would cease to exist entirely. Broly's energy continued to ravage the planet.
A grave expression gradually formed on Goten's face.
Despite fighting Broly for so long, the system's electronic notification sound hadn't chimed in.
That meant he hadn't acquired Broly's legendary bloodline. One must understand that they risked their lives to come to this planet solely to obtain Broly's legendary bloodline. At their current level of combat, it would be a severe setback if they couldn't unlock Broly's legendary bloodline. Moreover, Broly had completely lost his sanity by now.
He had unleashed a frenzy of destruction.
This planet would be obliterated within a minute.
At that point, Goten himself would be in danger. After all, he couldn't sustain the Ultra Instinct mode for an extended period. And relying solely on the power of Super Saiyan, survival in the universe was utterly impossible. System, activate the fusion of Cell. In that moment, Goten suddenly remembered that when he defeated Cell in the past, he had acquired his Cell. Initially, he hadn't chosen to fuse with Cell's cells. Because, for him, Cell's cells were not particularly useful. Unexpectedly, in this critical moment, Cell's cells would come in handy. Within cells resided the genes of Frisia and his father, King Cold.
And the frost demons were fully capable of surviving in a vacuum. Yes, host. The system's synthesized electronic voice quickly sounded.
Then, accompanied by a tingling sensation coursing through his entire body, the system confirmed the success of the fusion.
Countless new knowledge flooded his mind in an instant. Vegeta's ultimate flash, Frisia's death ray and planet destruction bomb, Piccolo's special beam cannon, Tien Shinhen's Neo Tri-beam, and various other techniques. But for Goten, these skills held little significance. The only thing that would prove useful in this moment was Frisia and King Cold's ability to survive in the universe. Ha ha!
Broly's aura grew increasingly intense, and the planet appeared as a frail vessel in a raging storm on the verge of collapse. Goten was well aware that it was time to deliver a fatal blow to Broly. Even if he couldn't acquire the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline this time, he mustn't perish in this place.
It ends here, Broly. With this determination, Goten locked his serious gaze upon Broly.
In the next second, his body materialized instantly before Broly. The silver divine energy condensed in his palm, aimed directly at Broly's chest. Without a shred of hesitation, without granting Broly any chance to resist, the energy ball erupted from his palm in an instant.
Ah!
Accompanied by a piercing scream, Broly's body disintegrated and dissipated bit by bit under the divine energy.
The tremendous impact of the energy unleashed an instant explosion that engulfed the entire planet. Simultaneously, the familiar synthesized electronic voice resounded in his mind. Ding!
Congratulations to the host for acquiring the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline and 5 billion in combat power.
Boom! At the moment the synthesized electronic voice chimed, the planet also erupted, and a magnificent firework display bloomed in the vast expanse of the universe. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 29, Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 29, Chapter 29 Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. Chapter 29 Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. Boom!
The breathtaking fireworks gradually dissipated, dwindling into specks of dust in the vast universe. Broly's body was nowhere to be found at this moment. Standing in the expansive sky of the universe, Goten appeared as tiny as a speck of dust. The recent planet explosion had caused him severe injuries, resulting in profuse bleeding. Although he possessed the power to obliterate a planet in an instant, being able to destroy a planet and withstand the force unleashed by its explosion were entirely different matters. If he hadn't condensed an energy barrier in time, it's highly likely that he would have been gravely wounded or even killed by the planet's blast wave. This is not an exaggeration by any means. Goten promptly exited the form of Ultra Instinct. Instantly, he felt utterly weak, as if all the strength had drained from his body. After all, utilizing Ultra Instinct itself consumed a tremendous amount of physical energy and inflicted significant damage on the body. Moreover, the recent explosion had caused numerous injuries. Realizing his physical frailty, Goten swiftly retrieved another Senzu bean and consumed it. As he chewed on it a few times, his injuries miraculously healed. He could clearly sense that the energy within his body had grown substantially stronger. That power was almost bursting forth. Finally got rid of that guy. However, this approach was incredibly risky. Even now, having fully recovered his strength, he still felt lingering apprehension. That individual, Broly, proved to be stronger than he had anticipated. In the state of Ultra Instinct, it took enduring 2 full-strength attacks to finally eliminate him. Fortunately, Broly wasn't granted more time to grow. Otherwise, it's uncertain whether Goten would have survived in the end.
Nonetheless, this daring venture ultimately yielded a satisfying outcome.
He attained what he had been eagerly seeking, the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline.
That was the purpose of his journey this time. The baseline combat power of 5 billion also brought a qualitative improvement to his strength.
After fusion with the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline, it will be hard for him to fathom the extent of his newfound might. But one thing was certain, it would be vastly different from his current state. The system has detected a non-fused bloodline, the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline.
Should the host initiate fusion? At that moment, the system's electronic voice resounded once again. The legend Super Saiyan, not fusion, designation also appeared in the bloodline section of his status profile.
Not yet, Goten commanded within his mind. In the boundless expanse of the illusory universe, it didn't feel appropriate to engage in fusion.
Fusion required a safe environment and a calm state of mind.
Understood, host. The system promptly replied, and then fell silent.
At that moment, Goten gazed out into the vastness of the universe.
A sense of solitude washed over him. Although he had spent a year training alone in the hyperbolic time chamber, he had always known he was on Earth.
By stepping out of the chamber's door, he could easily return to his home planet.
But now, he was clueless about how to find his way back to Earth.
Without a universe ship, returning would be a challenging task.
Therefore, his current plan was to locate a planet exhibiting signs of biological activity and then find a means to return to Earth.
After making his decision, Goten vanished in a flash. Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, Goku and Gohan were filled with joy. Goten had survived and Broly had been defeated. Amazing, Goten! Goku exclaimed, tightly clenching his fists in excitement.
Not only had Goten dealt with Broly, but he had also survived the planet's explosion.
Goten, that kid, is truly incredibly strong. The final surge of Broly's energy was absolutely overwhelming. Dad, even if you become a Super Saiyan 3, you still wouldn't be able to defeat Broly. Gohan too was brimming with exhilaration.
They had distinctly felt Broly's power during that encounter, something indescribably formidable. Although Gohan had reached the Super Saiyan 2 form, he knew all too well that Broly, at that moment, could have annihilated him instantly. Even Dad's Super Saiyan 3 form would likely prove futile against Broly.
You're right, Gohan.
Even in my Super Saiyan 3 form, it would be impossible to defeat Broly.
That guy is truly unbelievably strong. But Goten is also something else.
By now, he has probably attained a level we can't comprehend.
Goku nodded, then calmly addressed everyone. Goten's current level surpassed their understanding.
Previously, they believed that the Super Saiyan 3 form was immensely powerful. However, after witnessing the battle between Goten and Broly, they gradually realized that the Super Saiyan 3 form was insignificant compared to the two of them. It seemed they still had a long way to go.
TSK. Damn it!
Damn Kakarot, both father and son have surpassed me.
Unforgivable. Vegeta's face reddened with anger.
Initially, Kakarot alone had surpassed him. Yet, 8 years ago, Kakarot's son, Gohan, had also surpassed him. Now, even Kakarot's youngest son had become so formidable. As the second-ranking Saiyan for the past years, Vegeta had been pushed down to the 4th position.
It was infuriating. Didn't you notice? Goten can survive in the space. If I recall correctly, Saiyans don't possess this special ability. Piccolo finally spoke up.
Even as Super Saiyans, they couldn't survive in the vacuum of space.
Yet, Goten seemed perfectly fine and moving at high speed.
Yes. How is this possible?
Saiyans truly shouldn't be able to survive in the universe. Goku also looked puzzled.
Vegeta, standing beside him, clearly couldn't comprehend what was happening.
Saiyans lacked this particular ability. However, Frieza and his clan could survive in the universe.
Perhaps it has something to do with the godly energy within Goten's body. King Kai chimed in, observing the perplexed group. It was only natural for a warrior possessing the power of a deity to survive in the universe.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 30. Scion Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 30, Lost in Space. Chapter 30, Lost in Space. Goku and the others nodded in agreement. They couldn't think of any other reason besides this explanation.
I hope that kid will be blessed with great fortune and thrive in the universe. King Kai muttered to himself in a low voice. Although Goten's character is different from Goku and Gohan, he is much more decisive than them. However, King Kai knew that Goten was also a good boy and a skilled fighter. Killing Broly in the southern galaxy helped save countless planets and creatures from dying throughout the entire galaxy.
Everyone, please rest assured.
With his strength, Goten can surely survive in the universe, Piccolo spoke from the side.
Goku and the others didn't continue to observe Goten.
His current strength was too strong and had far surpassed theirs.
They were left severely behind. Hey! Let's continue training, Goku said naively to Vegeta and Gohan.
At first, I thought that Super Saiyan 3 was already very strong, but witnessing Broly and Goten's battle today made me realize how weak we still are. At the same time, Goku also looked forward to meeting Goten one day and experiencing his power firsthand.
Several people nodded seriously.
In the past 8 years, their strength had improved significantly. But when compared, it paled in comparison to Goten's strength. Goten's power greatly stimulated everyone's desire to train.
Time passed day by day. A week went by in the blink of an eye. King Kai and Goku checked on Goten's current situation every other day. Goten had been wandering in the universe for a whole week. The universe was vast and boundless, with countless planets scattered within it. However, the distance between each planet was at least hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Going from one planet to another wasn't an easy task, even for someone as fast as Goten. Moreover, randomly searching without a sense of direction further escalated the difficulty. Fortunately, Goten still had 2 senzu beans with him. Senzu beans not only healed injuries but also instantly restored physical strength. In the vast and boundless universe, 2 figures suddenly appeared. One was tall, and the other was short, both sporting silver-white hair. The shorter one was about 1.4 meters tall, with a silver-white punk head, light purple skin, and a pair of elf ears. The taller one was a big man with a red face and long silver-white hair flowing down his back. Both of them wore peculiar suits. The most noticeable aspect was the pair of earrings adorning their ears. Master Supreme Kai, look quickly, there seems to be someone over there. The red-faced man exclaimed to the little man beside him, filled with surprise. After all, there weren't many races that could survive in the universe. This is the most desolate and remote location in the southern Milky Way. How could someone be here? Let's go and see, Kibito. Perhaps he has something to do with the explosion on the southern Milky Way planet a few days ago, the little dwarf replied in a serious tone. Indeed, the 2 individuals in front of them were Supreme Kai Shin of the 7th universe and his bodyguard, Kibito. They had left the Supreme Kai world to inspect the planets in the southern galaxy. Additionally, they aimed to investigate the sudden explosion of a planet in the southern galaxy that occurred a few days ago. In fact, dozens of planets in the southern galaxy had inexplicably been destroyed over the past few years. However, Supreme Kai Shin had been preoccupied with the matter concerning Majin Buu and hadn't focused on the southern galaxy.
Only a few years ago, he received confirmed information that the evil magician Bibidi had a son named Babidi. This son possessed the ability to lift the seal on Majin Buu. Majin Buu was the source of his fears since his release could potentially result in the destruction of the entire universe. Hence, other matters paled in comparison. Consequently, Supreme Kai-Shin had spent the past few years relentlessly searching for Babidi's whereabouts but without success. He lived in constant fear, often plagued by nightmares depicting the 4 other Supreme Kai being killed and absorbed by Majin Buu thousands of years ago. "Okay, Lord Supreme Kai." Kibito responded respectfully. Then, the two of them vanished, employing Kai to appear directly in front of a figure. "It's actually a human child?" Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito wore surprised expressions upon seeing the person in front of them. How did a human child end up wandering alone in the universe? Supreme Kai-Shin exclaimed in shock. The child standing before Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito was none other than Goten, who had been wandering in the universe for a whole week. Goten himself was taken aback upon seeing Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito. Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito. "The saviors are here!" Goten exclaimed, a mix of surprise and excitement evident in his voice. It was as if he had encountered his long-awaited rescuers. Meeting these two individuals meant that he no longer had to roam aimlessly in the universe. Finally, he could escape this desolate and silent place. "Hey, kid, who are you? And why did you end up in the universe?" Kibito stepped forward, gazing at Goten with a serious expression. Naturally, this was in line with Kibito's character. "Please, just get me out of this place," Goten pleaded. "I don't want to spend another minute, no, even a second, in this wretched place." Goten looked at the two, choosing not to answer Kibito's question but rather expressing his immediate need. After a week of wandering, his entire body felt weary. For 7 days, he hadn't even had a warm meal. It was an immense torment for a scion. His only thought now was to escape this hollow emptiness and find something to eat. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 31, Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 31, Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito. Chapter 31, Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito. Supreme Kai-Shin raised an eyebrow, perplexed. The child floating in front of them in the vast universe seemed oblivious to their identities. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to speak to the most powerful gods in the universe in such a disrespectful tone. "Hey, kid, do you even know who stands before you? You dare to address us in such a manner?" Kibito's eyes widened in disbelief. This youngster had the audacity to be so arrogant in the presence of Supreme Kai. With a towering height of 2 meters and that expression on his face, it was indeed an imposing sight. "Forget about it, Kibito, he's just a child who doesn't recognize us," Supreme Kai reminded Kibito. "Ignorance can excuse a lack of knowledge. How could I not know who you are? Aren't you East King Kai? And aren't you his bodyguard, Kibito? Alright, get me out of this place quickly. I can't stand being here anymore." Goten glanced at the duo and pleaded. Though these two individuals looked impressive and carried themselves with style during Dragon Ball Z, they had displayed a mere 3 seconds of coolness before the Demon King Dabura frightened them to the point of wetting their pants. After Majin Buu broke free from his seal, Supreme Kai had nearly been scared to death. To be honest, it was quite embarrassing for a top god in the universe. What? Supreme Kai and Kibito were shocked to hear Goten casually reveal their identities. A mere child wandering in the universe was aware of Supreme Kai's existence. Not only that, but it seemed like the child knew everything about both of them, which was truly incredible.
How do you know? Supreme Kai Shin looked at Goten in disbelief.
After all, not many humans were aware of Supreme Kai's existence. But this child seemed to possess exceptional knowledge.
I know a lot more than that. Can you please get me out of here quickly?
We can talk and grab something to eat after we leave this place, Goten continued impatiently. Supreme Kai Shin attempted to read Goten's mind, but to his dismay, he couldn't discern the child's thoughts. Furthermore, he couldn't gather any information about him. This only added to Supreme Kai Shin's disbelief. Mind reading was Supreme Kai's unique ability, so it was indeed strange that he couldn't extract any information about the child before him.
Such an occurrence had never happened before. Boy, since you are aware that the Supreme Kai, the highest deity in the universe, stands before you, you should mind your tone and show proper respect when addressing Lord Supreme Kai, Kibito earnestly stated, his face serious. As Supreme Kai Shin wondered why he couldn't read Goten's mind, Kibito chimed in with a stern expression, emphasizing that the child's tone was highly inappropriate considering his knowledge of Supreme Kai's presence. Observing Kibito's seriousness, Goten's face changed slightly. Suddenly, in a flash, Goten appeared behind the two like a light, placing his hands on their shoulders. Hey! I've been wandering aimlessly in this boring universe for a whole week, and I'm getting a bit agitated now. Please don't push me to the point where I have to teach you a lesson. A faint voice sounded from behind.
Hearing the voice, the two were startled. Instantly, cold sweat broke out on their foreheads.
In that split second, they couldn't even discern how the child had appeared behind them.
The speed was simply astonishing. The two exchanged glances, and the shock in their eyes was evident.
Master Sure.
Supreme Kai, this guy is definitely not an ordinary kid.
Kibito spoke to Supreme Kai using a special method of sound transmission.
Yes, his strength is remarkably powerful, perhaps surpassing ours, Supreme Kai responded to Kibito immediately.
What should we do now?
Let's take him to the sacred world of the Kai/God realm, Kibito suggested. That way, we may be able to uncover more about him. The two continued their conversation through sound transmission. Ultimately, Supreme Kai decided to bring Goten to the Supreme Kai world first. He felt that Goten appeared harmless, with no trace of malevolent energy within him. The fact that a human child could surpass their own strength was truly unbelievable to him. He was immensely curious about who this kid really was. Bringing him to the Supreme Kai world might provide some answers to this mystery.
Kibito nodded in agreement. Kai was immediately employed. Whoosh! The bodies of the three individuals momentarily flickered, then vanished from their original position in an instant. When they reappeared, they found themselves on an emerald green planet. The landscape was adorned with lush vegetation, resembling Earth to a great extent.
Supreme Kai world? Goten glanced around and quickly recognized the place as the Supreme Kai realm. He had seen Supreme Kai's presence in both Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super.
Alright, can you finally tell me who you are? And why were you wandering the universe?
Supreme Kai Shin turned to Goten and inquired.
Sure. Goten replied. But, by the way, I'm quite hungry now. Could you ask him to get me something to eat first? Goten pointed towards Kibito as he made his request. Kibito's expression darkened instantly.
After all, he was Lord Supreme Kai's bodyguard. Yet, here he was, being asked to prepare food for a human. It was truly outrageous. Even more astonishing was Supreme Kai Shin's nod of approval, followed by his instruction to Kibito, "Kibito, go get some food."
Kibito,
Despite his discontent, Kibito had no choice but to comply with Supreme Kai's orders.
While he prepared the food, Goten introduced himself.
Although his power far surpassed that of Supreme Kai and Kibito, he remained humble, which was commendable for a strong figure in this universe.
I'm Goten, from Earth in the Northern Galaxy, Goten revealed. As for why I was wandering in the universe, Goten held nothing back as he recounted the story of his encounter with Broly and his subsequent defeat. There was no need to hide anything, it was an open secret. What? Are you from Earth? Supreme Kai Shin was stunned. Earth in the Northern Galaxy. That was the very planet where he had concealed the sealed Majin Buu magic egg. And the legendary Super Saiyan Broly was likely the one responsible for the destruction of countless planets in the Southern Galaxy. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 32, Supreme Kai dropped Kai and Kai's healing. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 32, Chapter 32 Supreme Kai dropped Kai and healing. Chapter 32 Supreme Kai dropped Kai and Kai's healing. Mr. Goten, in that case, I sincerely appreciate your assistance in dealing with Broly. You rescued hundreds of millions of living beings in the Southern Galaxy from the brink of extinction. I express my gratitude for the survivors of the Southern Galaxy. Upon hearing Goten's introduction, Supreme Kai immediately lowered his posture and expressed his gratitude to Goten. Furthermore, the title used has changed to Mr. In a society where strength is revered, power can hold significant sway. Although he is the most advanced and esteemed Supreme Kai in the universe, his strength is rather average. Hence, it is only natural to maintain a certain level of respect for such a strong individual who has aided the universe. You should genuinely thank me, as this is the duty of a Supreme Kai. Goten replied bluntly, without politeness. Otherwise, considering the strength of Supreme Kai and Kibito, even if the two combined, they would not be enough to contend with Broly. At this moment, Kibito also brought a few dishes. Their peculiar appearance resembled the creatures found on Fire Mountain. Goten finished quickly, despite the poor taste. After starving for an entire week in the universe, he was not particularly picky anymore. The flavor is average, but it satisfies. After devouring all the dishes on the table, Goten patted his stomach and remarked, "It's a world of difference compared to my mother's culinary skills." These words darkened Kibito's face even more. "Mr. Goten, there is something I'm uncertain whether to address or not." Once Goten finished eating, Supreme Kai Shin leaned in and awkwardly spoke. In truth, Majin Buu has always been his problem. One could even say that in the depths of his heart, Majin Buu is akin to a nightmare. If Majin Buu were to break free from his seal, based on their strength, Supreme Kai and Kibito would unquestionably be killed instantly. Moreover, even Babidi, the sorcerer, has a number of formidable evil fighters under his command. He and Kibito are also unsure of victory. The Goten standing before them evidently possesses more power than they do. If they can secure his assistance, they might have a chance to defeat Babidi and maintain the seal on Majin Buu. Actions speak louder than words, tell me what the matter is. Goten wiped his mouth and said, Here's the situation. Tens of thousands of years ago, a demon with terrifying strength emerged in the universe. His arrival turned hundreds of thousands of planets into desolate stars. Later on, our 5 Supreme Kais united to confront his demon named Majin Buu, but unfortunately, Majin Buu proved to be too formidable. In the end, the other 4 Supreme Kais fell victim to Majin Buu. Supreme Kai Shin commenced an explanation with a sense of urgency. The words he spoke were similar to those addressed to Goku and Vegeta in the past. Essentially, the gist was that the sorcerer Babidi, son of the magician Bibidi, had the power to awaken Majin Buu. However, he had a group of controlled evil fighters under his influence. Thus, they hoped to gain Goten's assistance. Only then would they have a chance to eliminate Babidi without any risk of failure, ensuring the continued seal on Majin Buu. Understood. You mean you want me to help you eliminate the sorcerer Babidi and his minions? Goten nodded and replied. In truth, with his current strength, he could easily dispose of the demon Lord Dabura.
As for Majin Buu, he still saw value in confronting him.
Majin Buu's super regeneration ability was quite useful. Yes, that's what I mean.
Supreme Kai Shin promptly nodded. He then gazed intently at Goten, awaiting his response. If they could secure Goten's aid, there would be absolutely no issue in maintaining the seal on Majin Buu. I can promise you that, and I can even assist in completely eliminating Majin Buu.
But I have one condition.
Goten nodded and turned to the two of them, stating.
What condition?
Supreme Kai quickly asked.
It's very simple for you.
You just need to have one battle with me, Goten replied with a faint smile. Regardless of victory or defeat, I will agree to your previous request. Although the strength of the two individuals in front of him was indeed average, one could even say weak, Kibito possessed two exceptional abilities, Kai and healing. Acquiring these abilities through battle would be highly beneficial. Mastering Kai would ensure he never gets trapped in the universe again.
That's all?
Supreme Kai questioned, his skepticism evident upon hearing the seemingly straightforward conditions proposed by Goten. Nevertheless, he nodded firmly. Then there's no time to waste.
Let's begin. Impatiently, Goten urged them to start, as he still possessed the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan and had not yet fused.
Okay, let's go. Supreme Kai Shin also nodded swiftly, assuming a fighting stance.
TSK.
This kid, forget it.
He actually wants to challenge the two of us. Kibito voiced his disbelief.
He doesn't take us gods seriously.
Bring it on.
Goten nodded, his expression calm, before instantly transforming into his Super Saiyan form. Now fully mastering the Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 transformations, he no longer needed to roar to initiate the transformation. The two quickly rushed forward, with Kibito exerting all his energy.
Both their speed and strength reached their peak.
They threw hundreds of punches, but Goten managed to avoid every single one, not even a brush against his clothes.
The same went for Supreme Kai Shin. Impressive, such tremendous strength.
This kid didn't move an inch, yet he was able to dodge all our attacks, he marveled.
In that case, I'll use Kai, Kibito declared. Let's see if you're faster than Kai. While astonished, Kibito made up his mind.
In an instant, countless afterimages of Kibito appeared around Goten's body, moving swiftly with fist shadows covering with ki.
Yet, they still couldn't land a hit on Goten. Ding!
Congratulations to the host for acquiring the divine skill Kai's instant transmission.
Ding!
Congratulations to the host for acquiring the divine skill healing. After a tedious battle that lasted for about 4 or 5 minutes, the synthesized sound of the system echoed in Goten's mind.
Second skill healing was gained when Kibito was healing him after battle ended. A joyous expression appeared on Goten's face.
It seemed that the system was truly remarkable.
The probability of acquiring attributes was remarkably high. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 33, Fusing Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 33, Fusing Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. Chapter 33, Fusing Legendary Saiyan Bloodline. What an incredible power!
Perhaps with Mr. Goten's strength, we can defeat Majin Buu this time. It appears that Babidi can be completely eradicated this time and prevent Majin Buu from awakening. Despite not laying a finger on Goten's body from start to finish, Supreme Kai Shin was exhilarated. For he had finally witnessed the might of Goten. And his intuition told him that Goten hadn't even unleashed his full power yet. It's astonishing that a human can possess such formidable force. Furthermore, he had been Supreme Kai for so long without realizing that such powerful warriors existed in the universe.
Alright, that's enough for now.
Upon hearing the synthesized voice in his mind, Goten had accomplished his objective.
Naturally, this monotonous battle lost its appeal.
Slightly clenching his fists, an ominous plume of smoke erupted instantaneously from his body.
The powerful shockwave rippled in all directions with Goten at its center. Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito were also sent hurtling through the air.
The duo retreated dozens of feet before finally coming to a halt.
Goten's power left them even more astounded.
A mere burst of ki had sent them flying such a great distance. What's more, they both knew that Goten hadn't even utilized his full strength. This is incredible, such power is truly astonishing.
Supreme Kai Shin grew even more elated.
And Kibito, who had initially harbored doubts, became a believer in that moment.
Though Gohan had seemed arrogant before, he now understood that Goten had the right to be.
At such a tender age, surpassing the strength of Supreme Kai was no small feat. Besides, the younger you are, the more audacious you tend to be. After effortlessly knocking the two aside, Goten reverted from his Super Saiyan form. Mr. Goten, you're truly remarkable.
When will we be going to Earth?
Supreme Kai hurriedly approached, brimming with excitement. With the assistance of Mr. Goten, defeating the sorcerer Babidi would be a piece of cake.
In a few days.
Your place is relatively peaceful.
I'd like to continue training for a few days. It may be safer that way. Goten replied.
In truth, he desired to complete the fusion of his legendary Saiyan bloodline here.
Very well, then. Indeed, enhancing our strength is crucial to ensure success.
Supreme Kai Shin nodded repeatedly. The stronger Goten became, the greater the likelihood of successfully sealing Majin Buu. Moreover, even if unexpected circumstances arose, they would be prepared to handle them. By the way, I don't want any disturbances during my upcoming training sessions.
And there might be some noise, so it's best for you to keep your distance.
After Goten finished speaking, he leaped into the air and instantly landed atop a mountain. Then he assumed a cross-legged position and began communicating with the system through his thoughts. System, activate the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline fusion.
Understood, host. Prepare yourself, host. Fusion will commence in 10 seconds. Countdown initiated. 9, 8, 1.
As the countdown reached its conclusion, a piercing pain surged through every fiber of his being. It felt as if an unimaginably formidable force was coursing through his skin, permeating every inch of his body. And the ordinary Saiyan genes within him swiftly began to be replaced and altered.
Ha, ha! Goten tightly clenched his fists, his brows furrowing. Instantaneous perspiration. Pain. A heart-rending pain.
But he knew that this pain was the path to his newfound strength.
With the passage of time, Goten could feel his body gradually transforming.
Flesh and limbs undergoing a process of reshaping. This excruciating pain persisted for approximately 20 minutes. Then it gradually began to subside. The energy coursing through his body weakened slightly. However, the strength within him had increased exponentially.
Ha ha! In that moment, Goten's eyes abruptly shot open, and a low growl reverberated throughout the Kai's realm. Rustle! Simultaneously, verdant spray-like flames burst forth from his body. Waves of aura surged in every direction. Rumble! The entire Supreme Kai world shook violently.
The surrounding mountains crumbled rapidly, as if the entire Kai's realm was confronting doomsday. Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito swiftly raised their arms to shield themselves. Yet their bodies were involuntarily pushed backward. Two distinct marks were left upon the ground.
Amazing! What an awe-inspiring power! Is this Mr. Goten's true strength? It's unfathomable, so mighty.
Supreme Kai Shin's heart churned with turbulent waves. Never could he have imagined that there existed a human in the universe capable of attaining such levels of power. With this kind of might, the two of them had surpassed the original for Supreme Kai. Perhaps Mr. Goten's power is now on par with, if not surpassing, that of Majin Buu. Naturally, having lived thousands of years ago, he had no knowledge of Majin Buu's true power.
Indeed, it's too terrifying.
It's truly inconceivable that a human being possesses such prodigious strength.
Kibito also exclaimed in shock. With this level of power, it was estimated that even if Majin Buu were to break free from his seal, they might be able to handle it. Hum rumble.
This violent trembling persisted for a minute before gradually subsiding. The tempest gradually dissipated. The ground began to regain its composure.
And the aura surrounding Goten was no longer as volatile as before. Ding! Congratulations to the host.
The legendary Super Saiyan bloodline fusion was successful.
Simultaneously, the system's synthesized electronic voice echoed in his mind. I did it. So, this is the sensation of passing on the bloodline? The power is so immense that it's nearly overflowing. This feeling, it's so exhilarating.
With his fist clenched, the power within his body felt as though it was surging forth, causing Goten's trembling form to brim with excitement. One can only imagine the terror of this power when combined with the Super Saiyan transformation. Indeed, in this world, bloodline/race/transformation remains the eternal truth. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 34, Legendary Super Saiyan Goten.
Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 34, Legendary Super Saiyan Goten. Chapter 34, Legendary Super Saiyan Goten.
And Goten can clearly feel that after fusion, having the blood of the legendary Super Saiyan, it's not just ridiculously strong, even the strength of his body has undergone a complete qualitative change. It's no wonder that in the movie version, legendary Super Saiyan Broly can withstand Goku's Kamehameha wave with his face and remain unharmed. At this moment, Goten's aura has completely calmed down. Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito fly directly in front of Goten. Their eyes were filled with unparalleled excitement, mixed with envy and admiration. The power released by Goten just now might be a height they will never reach in their lifetime.
Mr.
Goten, the strength you just displayed, is that your true power?
It's unbelievable.
I never dreamed that a human could possess such incredible force.
Kibito looked at Goten with admiration and envy, and said excitedly. This expression and posture didn't match his rough appearance at all. Mr. Goten, you are so strong. The power you just exhibited could even wipe out Majin Buu.
Supreme Kai also clenched his fists, ecstatic like a child. Just now, it was my full power.
And this power is not enough to eliminate Majin Buu. Goten shook his head, looked at the excited duo, and said.
Although he now has the legendary Super Saiyan transformation, and also my base strength has indeed become formidable.
However, it's still impossible to completely defeat Majin Buu.
After all, Majin Buu's super regeneration ability is incredibly terrifying.
As long as a single cell remains, he can regenerate. Furthermore, when the original Buu recovers, his aura doesn't weaken in any way. Ugh! What? You mean, the extraordinarily strong aura we felt earlier isn't your true strength?
Seeing Goten's serious expression, Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito were left dumbfounded. The power they sensed moments ago was simply unimaginable. Even if they trained for another million years, they doubted they could reach that level.
And now they discover it wasn't Goten's true strength? Moreover, Goten is just a child. How much stronger will he become given enough time to grow?
The thought sends shivers down their spines.
Goten nodded.
He wants to experience Fusion's true strength in Super Saiyan form, and the Kai's God Realm is the most suitable place. If it were on Earth, going berserk or losing control of his energy could cause devastating consequences.
But the God Realm is different.
Even if the entire realm is destroyed, Supreme Kai and Kibito can use Kai's instant transmission to escape.
At worst, they can rebuild it when the time comes. Gulu, can you show us your full strength then?
Supreme Kai Shin asked curiously, swallowing hard. The strength Goten displayed earlier was enough to shock them. Now they want to witness how powerful Goten will be when he unleashes his full strength.
I'm also curious. What level can the strongest fighter in this universe achieve? Kibito stared at Goten with anticipation. In his heart, Goten has become the most formidable warrior in the universe. Okay then.
Since the two of you are so interested, let's take a look, Goten said to them, raising a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. But Supreme Kai Shin couldn't help but feel that this smile was rather peculiar. It gave off a sense that something bad was about to happen. By the way, I still can't fully control the power I'm about to unleash, so it's better if you stay a little far away. Goten turned his head, wearing an innocent smile on his face, and kindly cautioned the two of them. Upon hearing this, the pupils of Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito suddenly contracted. Then, they looked at Goten with wide eyes. Supreme Kai Shin abruptly realized why he had felt uneasy earlier. After a moment of surprise and confusion, Kibito hastily pulled Supreme Kai Shin with his instant transmission, teleporting them thousands of feet away. They took cover behind a mountain peak. However, it still didn't feel safe enough. Thinking quickly, Supreme Kai Shin focused his mind, creating an energy barrier around the two of them. This brought them a greater sense of security. Seeing the two of them retreat 1,000 feet away, Goten also began to prepare for his transformation. Then let me experience the legendary Super Saiyan form, Goten exclaimed, clenching his fists tightly. His eyes instantly became resolute. Ugh, ha, 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 ha. In the next second, a deep roar erupted from his throat. Rumble. The ground shook violently, causing the gravel to float in midair. The airwaves beneath Goten's feet spread rapidly like a tornado. An overwhelming aura filled the entire Supreme Kai's world and rapidly expanded outward. Rumble. The deafening sound of collapse reverberated continuously as surrounding mountain peaks crumbled under the devastating airwaves. During this time, Goten's aura continued to surge, but it carried an intense restlessness. Oh my god! Is this kid a monster? Supreme Kai Shin exclaimed, utterly dumbfounded. He had never felt a presence like this before. It was as unfathomable as an abyss. Kibito, on the other hand, stood there in a daze, mouth agape, completely shocked and speechless. He never expected to witness such an extraordinarily powerful warrior in his lifetime. And amidst the astonishment in their eyes, Goten began to undergo a transformation. His black hair was suddenly tied up high, and the grass-green-like energy surrounding his body surged even more, resembling a powerful jet flame. His once black eyes vanished, leaving behind empty, pale orbs. Swish! In the next moment, the black hair transformed completely into vibrant green. At that moment, the atmosphere experienced a seismic shift, surpassing even the intensity of Broly. Roar! A bestial roar erupted from Goten's throat. He resembled a wild beast, completely devoid of control. His aura continued to expand, surpassing that of before. The upper body's martial arts uniform had been torn to shreds, and his physique appeared much more robust than when he transformed into a Super Saiyan. Blue veins writhed across his face and arms like tiny serpents. Without a doubt, at this moment, Goten had transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan form.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 35, Z-Sword or Zeta Sword. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 35, Z-Sword or Zeta Sword. Chapter 35, Z-Sword or Zeta Sword.
Goten extended his arms and slowly levitated in midair.
Rustle. Terrifying shockwaves rippled outward in continuous circles, affecting the surrounding area.
The ground collapsed in circular patterns, creating a massive semicircular sinkhole that stretched hundreds of feet deep.
At this moment, although Goten's expression seemed composed, his eyes remained empty, devoid of pupils.
Accompanied by the grass-green light radiating from his body, he bore a resemblance to Broly. Meanwhile, Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito, who were concealed thousands of feet away, found themselves drenched in sweat from sheer fright of that terrifying aura. The preceding surge of energy had been truly terrifying, instilling a sense of overwhelming pressure even in these deities. Never before had they experienced such an oppressive force.
Even the formidable Majin Buu from before did not possess such an immense aura. Supreme Kai, has Goten lost control, his pupils disappearing?
If that's the case, both of us might meet our demise here. Trembling with fear, Kibito voiced his concerns. It would be incredibly disgraceful for the Supreme Kai in the universe to be slain within his own divine realm. Furthermore, the death of Supreme Kai would plunge the world into chaos. Mr. Goten should be able to control his transformation, Supreme Kai Shin replied hesitantly.
After all, Goten had mentioned it before, but there was no guarantee he could control the energy after undergoing the transformation. The absence of pupils at this moment only intensified their fear.
As the two were conversing, Goten's figure suddenly materialized before them like a phantom.
What is this?
Supreme Kai and Kibito were momentarily dumbfounded.
Supreme Kai Master, you need not be so afraid.
I am not out of control, Goten reassured them, a smile appearing on his lips. As soon as he finished speaking, pupils slowly reappeared in his previously vacant and pale eyes.
However, these pupils were no longer the familiar black or the light green of a Super Saiyan. They had transformed into golden.
It was evident that Goten hadn't succumbed to madness from the fusion of the legend's Super Saiyan bloodline, nor had he become a mere instrument of destruction like Broly.
Instead, he possessed the ability to maintain control over his own reasoning.
This may have something to do with the system.
That's truly great. You really scared us half to death just now. Relieved to see Goten's eyes return to normal, Supreme Kai and Kibito finally let out a sigh of relief.
At this point, they could sense that Goten had returned to his usual state. His pupils had been restored, and the turbulent energy within him gradually began to subside.
This power is ridiculously strong. It surpasses Super Saiyan 2 by far. It's incomparable.
Gently clenching his fist and admiring his robust physique, Goten spoke casually. He felt that this form can easily surpass even Super Saiyan 3, and might even allowing him to effortlessly dominate Majin Buu in battle.
And if he wanted to obliterate Majin Buu, the From of Ultra Instinct sign would undoubtedly be capable of doing so.
Having experienced the immense power coursing through his body, Goten reverted from his legendary Super Saiyan transformation.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Goten, since you possess such great power and agree to help us, I want to present you with a gift.
Presumably, in this world, only you might be worthy of wielding that item. Once Goten had returned to his normal form, Supreme Kai Shin eagerly spoke up.
Supreme Kai, are you referring to the Supreme Kai's Z-Sword? Kibito quickly inquired. There weren't many valuable items in the Supreme Kai world that could match Goten's abilities.
Apart from the spacetime ring, the Supreme Kai's Z-Sword was one of the treasures in the realm. The spacetime ring could only be used by Supreme Kai and could not be given away casually. The sword had remained in the Supreme Kai world for a long time, and its weight was so tremendous that neither of them could lift it. Thus, it remained idle within the God realm. However, if it were bestowed upon Goten, he might be able to unlock the true use of the Z-Sword. Yes, the Z-Sword. Both of us are unable to wield it, and Mr. Goten has agreed to assist us against Majin Buu. The sword will be even more formidable in Mr. Goten's hands. Supreme Kai Shin nodded affirmatively. You're right. Indeed, within the God realm, it holds little significance. Kibito echoed this sentiment. After all, neither of them could wield it. Legend has it previous Supreme Kais had used the sword as their weapon. This weapon hold a legend that whoever could release the Z-Sword would gain access to an amazing power. It was also an ideal time for the sword to be employed by a hero. Is it the Z-Sword? Goten became intrigued upon hearing their conversation. However, his interest did not lie in the Z-Sword itself. It no longer held any power in his hands. With his current strength, he had no need for weapons. What fascinated him was the Elder Supreme Kai sealed within the Z-Sword. Although the Elder Supreme Kai was feeble and lacked strength, he possessed a unique superpower. It revolved around unlocking the potential within others. Gohan in Dragon Ball Z served as a prime example. After his potential was unlocked, Gohan transformed into the enigmatic Mystic Gohan, overpowering Majin Buu and dominating him effortlessly. This alone demonstrated the incredible potency of the old Supreme Kai's ability. Now that he had inherited the legendary Saiyan bloodline, if his potential could be unlocked by the Elder Supreme Kai, his base strength would experience a qualitative improvement. In the future, even when facing formidable opponents on the level of gods of destruction, he would possess the power to fight back. Unlocking his potential seemed like an imperative task. And the current situation within the Supreme Kai world presented an excellent opportunity. Mr. Goten, please follow me, Supreme Kai respectfully requested. Supreme Kai, just call me Goten from now on. After all, you guys are older than me by how many years? Addressing me as sir all the time feels a bit unnatural. Goten said to Supreme Kai Shin. To be honest, being called Mr. always felt awkward to him. Furthermore, being called that by an elder who was older than himself seemed even more peculiar. Okay. Goten. Supreme Kai quickly nodded, visibly moved. Goten's immense power had not made him arrogant or impetuous, and he showed no airs of superiority in their presence. It's worth noting that ordinary children possessing such power would have long proclaimed themselves as emperors of the universe, reveling in their grandeur. Naturally, Goten's demeanor deeply touched Supreme Kai. Then please follow me. Under the guidance of Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito, the three of them arrived at a peculiar cylindrical mountain. They lightly jumped and landed atop the summit in an instant. In the center of the mountain stood a sword. Goten, this is the gift I wish to bestow upon you, the Z-Sword. This sword is incredibly heavy, and neither Kibito nor I can lift it. However, I believe you will have no trouble. With this sword, your strength will undoubtedly grow stronger. Supreme Kai Shin pointed towards the Z-Sword embedded in the crevice of the stone, explaining its significance. Really? Goten smiled, then grasped the hilt of the Supreme Kai sword. He gave it a try, and indeed, it was remarkably heavy. It was no wonder Gohan struggled so much that he had to transform into his Super Saiyan form to pick it up. However, Goten had already fused with the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline. Even his base power surpassed that of Gohan during his time as a Super Saiyan. Furthermore, back then, Gohan hadn't trained for 7 years, and in Vegeta's words, his body had grown rusty. Suddenly, Goten's expression changed. With a show of strength, he shook the entire mountain. Cracks began to spread rapidly in all directions. Clang! In the next moment, to the utter shock of Supreme Kai-Shin and Kibito, Goten effortlessly pulled out the Z-sword. He held it with one hand and began to play with it. Supreme Kai's eyes widened like copper bells, his trust in life starting to waver. Was this truly their Z-sword? Why did it seem like a child's toy in Goten's hands? Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 36, Z Old Supreme Kai. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 36, Old Supreme Kai. Chapter 36, Old Supreme Kai. This thing isn't very heavy. Goten held the Z-sword, waving it around a few times and performing a few sword maneuvers, as if the Z-sword was as light as air in his hand. Ugh. It's because your strength is too strong, that's why it feels that way, Supreme Kai-Shin said with an embarrassed expression. Indeed, there's no comparison between individuals. The Z-sword, which he and Kibito couldn't budge an inch, feels so light in Goten's hand. It's like a toy sword. This truly makes the two of them feel ashamed. But there's no way around it, after all, Goten possesses power far beyond their imagination. Is this thing also durable? Goten lightly flicked it with the middle finger of his left hand, resulting in a crisp metallic sound. The sound is really sharp, and the material feels durable. If it were on Earth or any other planet, it would certainly be considered a valuable artifact. However, with his current strength being so overpowering, Goten naturally doesn't take the Z-sword seriously. From start to finish, his only interest lies in the Elder Supreme Kai sealed within the Z-sword. Of course, I'm pretty confident that it can help you defeat Majin Buu. But if you don't believe my word, let me test it to prove it for you. Supreme Kai said confidently. He then raised his right hand lightly, and a massive metal cube materialized out of thin air. This is the toughest metal in the universe. Use this to test the hardness of the Z-sword. Goten, take it. After speaking, Supreme Kai threw the metal cube directly at Goten with great confidence. Kibito also appeared confident, firmly believing that the Z-sword could effortlessly slice through the hardest metal in the universe. Okay. Goten smirked and nodded. He knew exactly how embarrassing the situation was going to be. In an instant, he unleashed enough power directly towards the metal cube via Z-sword. Swish. Bang. Click. The sounds of metal colliding and shattering crisply echoed almost simultaneously. Under the expectant gaze of Supreme Kai and Kibito, the Z-sword snapped in the middle and split into two, while the metal cube remained unscathed. Ha! Supreme Kai-Shin. Kibito. The two were left dumbfounded, their eyes widening like a cartoonish way. Their bewildered expressions were somewhat adorable. God, the sword of the gods is actually broken. Are you kidding me? Kibito muttered to himself in disbelief. The Z-sword, which they considered the strongest, had been broken so easily. Moreover, the humiliation came swiftly and loudly. The burning pain on their faces was now all too real. Just moments ago, they boasted about the sword's power, only to witness it shatter effortlessly. No way. It's a divine sword. Supreme Kai-Shin was also in a daze. How could this happen? They had just boasted about the immense power of the Z-sword. And yet, in less than a minute, it was snapped in two. It was like a massive slap to their faces, causing a burning sense of shame. Ugh! It doesn't seem as durable as you claimed. Goten looked at the broken sword in his hand, feeling embarrassed, and said to the two. With that remark, the two's faces turned even redder. It was such a shameful and embarrassing moment. Just when these two were feeling extremely embarrassed and didn't know how to alleviate the situation, Goten looked directly behind them.
Because behind them, an elderly man appeared, stooped and hunched.
His eyes were puffy, more than halfway covered by drooping eyelids, narrowed into slits, but they couldn't hide his wrinkled appearance. Bending over and clasping his hands behind his back, he wore the similar outfit as Supreme Kai. This elderly man was none other than Elder Supreme Kai, who had just been released from the God Realm. As a transmigrator, Goten was naturally familiar with him. Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito also followed Goten's gaze, and upon turning their heads, they were startled by the ghostly figure. "Ah!" both of them exclaimed, their hair standing on end. It was no wonder, after all, an apparition-like old man had suddenly appeared behind them. And the silence only added to their fright. It would be strange if they weren't scared. But confusion soon replaced their fear. Who was this old man? How did he appear in the Supreme Kai world? Furthermore, his attire closely resembled that of Supreme Kai. Ahem. Elder Supreme Kai coughed twice, feeling embarrassed. "This esteemed gentleman, may I inquire? Who are you? And how did you come to be in the God Realm?" Supreme Kai Shin quickly regained his composure and asked politely. He may not have many other qualities, but he had a good temperament and treated people with great politeness. "It's me. I am you." Supreme Kai from 15 generations ago, Elder Supreme Kai said with a gloomy expression. However, these two guys managed to release the sword from its seal on their own. It seemed that this year's Supreme Kai wasn't too weak. Ha! Ah! Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito were shocked once again. 15 generations, the former Supreme Kai? They found it hard to believe. They had never heard of a Supreme Kai from 15 generations ago. And how did he suddenly appear? Elder Supreme Kai immediately became the center of attention for the two. He explained that he had been sealed by a very powerful individual tens of millions of years ago, out of fear for his own power. Then he asked who had pulled out the Z-sword. "Elder Kai, it wasn't me or Kibito who pulled the Supreme Kai world out, it was Goten," Supreme Kai Shin said with some embarrassment. Unexpectedly, it was Goten who had rescued the old Kai from the Z-sword. This was supposed to be their duty as Supreme Kai. Cut it out. Pathetic. It was a human who saved me. What a disgrace to Supreme Kai. But never mind, I'm already free. Since that little human can pull out the Z-sword, it seems like he possesses considerable power. Elder Supreme Kai first looked at Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito with disdain, then shifted his gaze to Goten. Anyone who could pull out the Z-sword couldn't be weak. After all, they were sealed by a powerful being. Without significant strength, it would be impossible to extract the Z-sword, let alone break it. Yes, Elder Kai, Goten is very powerful, much stronger than me and Kibito. He is the mightiest warrior in this universe. Supreme Kai Shin proudly introduced. In his understanding, Goten was the most powerful being. Even the fearsome Majin Buu might not be a match for him. Cut it out. A frog in a well. The mightiest warrior in the universe is none other than the adult cat, I mean certainly not a human. Elder Supreme Kai said dismissively. If we talk about the most powerful warrior in this universe, it could only be one individual. The one who sleeps. He is the most powerful being in the entire universe. No Kais or human can compare to him. Not even a fraction of his power can be matched. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 37, Z-Cat Who Sleeps. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know.
Chapter 37, Cat Who Sleeps. Chapter 37, Cat Who Sleeps. Ugh! Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito were immediately rendered speechless. Although they were well aware of Goten's strength in their hearts, witnessing such power was an entirely new experience for them. However, standing before them were their own Elder Kai, and naturally, they dared not challenge his words. Supreme Kai, may I have a moment alone with Elder Kai? At that moment, Goten swiftly appeared in front of Supreme Kai and the others, and he addressed Supreme Kai directly. He had a specific purpose for freeing Elder Supreme Kai from the Z-Sword. Despite the old man's wretched and lecherous demeanor, his potential unlocking abilities were unparalleled. Even gods of destruction like Beerus lacked such skills. Naturally, Goten's intention was to have Elder Supreme Kai unlock his own potential. This way, he would have the confidence and ability to stand tall and converse with genuinely formidable individuals he might encounter in the future. Of course. But Goten, if Elder Kai says something that upsets you, please don't get angry. After all, our Elder Kai are quite elderly. Supreme Kai Shin quickly nodded and pleaded. Although he sensed Elder Kai's lack of strength, his boastful nature was cause for concern. With Goten's current abilities, he could easily dispose of the Kai within minutes if provoked. Don't worry. I'm not an evil person. Goten smiled, nodded, and assured them. Then, Supreme Kai Shin and Kibito departed. Hey, human kid, just tell me if you need anything. After all, you were the one who released me from my seal and made me free. If there's anything I can do to assist you, I'll do my best. After Supreme Kai and Kibito left, Elder Supreme Kai spoke in a serious tone. The human child before him must have a specific reason for wanting to speak with him alone. Then I'll just come out and say it. I'm aware that Elder Supreme Kai possesses an extraordinary power, one that can unlock the potential of others and significantly enhance their strength. May I ask Elder Supreme Kai to help me unlock my own potential? Goten maintained a polite tone and wore a smile on his face as he made the request. Although he could resort to forceful means to coerce Elder Supreme Kai into assisting him, it was not in his nature to do so. He saw no need to rely on his own power to compel others to act. There were many ways to solve problems, and resorting to force was indeed the least desirable method. What? Who are you? How do you know that I can unlock others' potential? Elder Supreme Kai's face displayed shock upon hearing Goten's words. After all, he had been sealed within the Z-Sword for an unknown number of years. Even the current Supreme Kai had no knowledge of him whatsoever. Yet, this young child standing before him was aware of his unique power to unlock others' potential. This was truly perplexing. How could this be? Someone informed me. Goten replied nonchalantly. Impossible. No one in this universe could possibly know about this. Elder Supreme Kai immediately shook his head and denied the notion. There were very few individuals who possessed knowledge of these matters, and they were simply inaccessible to ordinary humans. Nothing is impossible. If I were to tell you that the one who sealed you in the Z-Sword informed me, would you believe it? Goten continued to jest. Nani? A sudden panic appeared on Elder Supreme Kai's face. His slightly narrowed eyes widened in an instant, intensely scrutinizing Goten, attempting to see through him. Unfortunately, Goten always maintained a faint smile, revealing nothing more. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You're just a human, with no opportunity to come into contact with that individual. Elder Supreme Kai observed for a while, then shook his head vehemently. That individual is someone known to only a few. Even the current Supreme Kai may not be aware of their existence. Let alone a mere human child? But the young child standing before him exuded such confidence, making him feel as if Goten wasn't fabricating a story. The one who sealed you is none other than Beerus, the god of destruction. What if I told you he sealed you away out of fear? Afraid that if you died, he would face consequences? What do you think Beerus would do if he heard your boasting and speaking ill of him?
Goten's smile remained faint as he spoke in a composed tone. As a transmigrator, he was well aware of these matters. At this point, Elder Supreme Kai's complexion turned rather unsightly. You actually know of Lord Beerus's existence? Elder Supreme Kai deflated like a punctured ball, his aura softening. This was preposterous. This human child actually knew about the existence of Lord Beerus, the god of destruction. Moreover, from his tone, it seemed as though he was intimately familiar with both Lord Beerus and him. Perhaps even suggesting a symbiotic relationship between Supreme Kai and the gods of destruction. What was more concerning now was the trouble that would arise if Lord Beerus were to hear those boastful words he had just uttered. Countless planets might suffer once again. And he would undoubtedly find himself sealed within the Z-Sword once more. He had endured enough of those days. So now, can you help me unlock my potential? Looking at the bewildered Elder Supreme Kai, Goten asked again, his smile harmless and disarming. Very well. I will assist you in unlocking your potential. Elder Supreme Kai stared at Goten and could only nod in the end. He had no other choice. Since this individual could befriend the current Supreme Kai, it implied that he couldn't be a malevolent character. Even if assisting him in becoming stronger, it wouldn't pose a threat to the universe. Then, thank you, Elder Supreme Kai. Goten expressed his gratitude with a nod. The expected outcome had come to pass. There were indeed many ways to convince Elder Supreme Kai to agree to this matter. After a brief period of preparation, Elder Supreme Kai began helping Goten unlock his potential. According to Elder Supreme Kai's assessment, Goten possessed tremendous potential. It would take at least 5 days to unlock it fully. However, Goten was in no rush at the moment. 5 days were no issue at all. Meanwhile, in the underworld under King Yema's jurisdiction, a shocking event unfolded at that time. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 38, Trouble in the Underworld. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 38, Trouble in the Underworld. Chapter 38, Trouble in the Underworld. Due to a significant influx of malevolent souls into the underworld during this period, the soul cleansing machine within the realm began to experience an overload. An increasing amount of wicked energy was being cleansed from these malevolent souls. Regrettably, the guardian of the soul purification device displayed a lack of responsibility. He simply indulged in music and dance, completely oblivious to the impending danger. Consequently, the soul purification device exploded abruptly, releasing countless non-purified evil energies. He was surrounded by thousands of years of spiritual waste. The purplish-gray smoke mutated his body, and as a result, it turned him into the pure evil demon, Janemba. Following the release of this evil energy, a protective barrier was immediately erected in the underworld. Outsiders were now entirely barred from entering the realm. However, those who had perished within the underworld could freely traverse into the real world. Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, a martial arts tournament resembling the renowned World Martial Arts Tournament was underway. At that moment, Goku, engaged in the competition, along with Gohan and Piccolo, who were spectating, suddenly sensed an immense malevolent presence. Goku and Vegeta, in the midst of their match, abruptly halted. Did you feel that, Kakarot? A tremendously powerful malevolent aura, it seems to rival our own strength. Vegeta turned his head and addressed Goku. Yes, Vegeta, I felt it too. It's incredibly potent. I'm already getting excited. Goku nodded, his face filled with anticipation. Having resided in the underworld for over 8 years, he hadn't encountered such an overwhelming aura in a long time. Even the mightiest warrior from the southern galaxy might pale in comparison to this aura. He even entertained the notion that, even as a Super Saiyan 3, he might not be able to vanquish this malevolent presence. Of course, this realization also ignited his excitement. Encountering such a formidable adversary in the underworld was a cause for celebration. After all, it had been quite some time since he could engage in a battle at full strength. Gohan and Piccolo also detected the malevolent energy at that moment. It was undeniably potent and immense. Any warrior with even a modicum of strength and heightened senses could discern the manifestation of that malevolent aura. And this was due to King Kai's receipt of a distress call from King Yama. King Yama had reported an unprecedented catastrophe befalling the underworld. He was currently trapped within the enchantment and incapable of exercising his authority as King Yama. The malevolent fighters from Hell had managed to infiltrate the real world, wreaking havoc and wantonly destroying everything in their path. Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. I have just received a distress call from King Yama, indicating that an enormous disaster has transpired in the underworld. A super powerful malevolent individual has emerged, and it is now imperative that you immediately assist King Yama in resolving this crisis within the underworld. King Kai addressed Goku and the others with utmost seriousness. He, too, had distinctly felt the malevolent aura just moments ago. It was remarkably potent, on par with super fighters like Goku. King Yama? Count me in. Goku readily agreed without hesitation. Whenever there was a battle, whenever there was a formidable opponent, he couldn't help but feel exhilarated. Such a battle was an opportunity he simply couldn't pass up. Don't kid yourself, Kakarot. That guy will undoubtedly be defeated by me, Vegeta. Vegeta clenched his fists, exuding an air of unwavering confidence. Hey! I won't allow that, Vegeta. Goku grinned, unyielding in his response to Vegeta. In the face of such a formidable opponent, he was determined to give it his all. These two haven't changed one bit. They still love competing so much. Piccolo sighed, shaking his head in helpless amusement. It was important to note that the enemy they were about to face possessed immense power. This was evident from the malevolent aura they had sensed earlier. However, listening to Goku and Vegeta, it was clear that they had no intention of joining forces. Instead, they planned to confront the upcoming enemy individually, relying on their own strengths. Very well, let us proceed to the underworld. If we delay any longer, the situation within the realm will only worsen. King Kai urgently advised Goku and Vegeta. All right. Everyone, grab onto my shoulders. We'll depart immediately. After finishing his statement, Goku placed his index and middle fingers between his eyebrows. He began to sense King Yama's ki. However, King Yama's aura was extremely weak at this time. It appeared that the situation was indeed critical. Gohan and Piccolo swiftly joined them on the ring. I'm coming too. Trunks followed suit immediately. After all, his power was not inferior to Vegeta and Gohan. He could provide some assistance as well. In an instant, the five of them wavered and disappeared from King Kai's planet. When they reappeared, they found themselves in the underworld. They beheld the sight of colossal, colorful candies strewn across the sky. King Yama's palace was entirely encased within a formidable barrier. Let's fight together, break the barrier, and rescue King Yama. Goku promptly exclaimed upon seeing King Yama trapped within the barrier. He then clasped his hands together, preparing his signature Kamehameha wave. Gohan and Piccolo quickly readied their own powerful techniques. Vegeta and Trunks followed suit with their respective moves. Kamehameha wave. Ultimate flash. Magic penetration light-killing cannon. Super energy bomb. All five unleashed their most potent attacks simultaneously. Yet, when these energies collided with the barrier, only faint ripples appeared. Soon, the barrier absorbed all of the energies.
What? What's happening? Our attacks seem entirely ineffective against this thing.
Vegeta furrowed his brow, his tone growing solemn. It was worth noting that the combined energy of the five of them was formidable. Yet, it failed to inflict any damage upon the barrier, which was truly astonishing.
Our energy has been absorbed by the barrier. It doesn't appear to be working, Piccolo immediately realized.
All of their energy had been absorbed by the barrier. If this continued, they would be unable to break through the enchantment.
Goku! The mastermind behind all this is on the roof.
Only by defeating that individual will the barrier dissipate, and the underworld will regain its original appearance, King Yama's feeble voice sounded.
The roof?
Everyone leaped up swiftly, their gaze directed towards the roof. There, they laid eyes upon a dull, mutative figure wears red headphones, a green short-sleeved hoodie, a dark blue shirt, red fingerless gloves and yellow pants with black lines.
It seemed unremarkable, resembling a plasticine toy. Can someone so dim-witted truly possess such power? Allow me, Prince Vegeta, to dispose of you in an instant.
Vegeta's mouth curled into a confident smirk as he gazed at the foolish khaki-wearing figure.
Typically, Vegeta's overconfidence would lead to his swift defeat within 10 seconds of such a declaration.
Ignoring any objections from the others, he leaped forward and struck Janemba directly.
Janemba, Janemba.
Janemba clapped his hands, his eyes undergoing a sudden transformation upon seeing Vegeta charging towards him. He swiftly retaliated with a powerful slap.
Snap!
Before Vegeta could react, he was sent hurtling through the air by the force of the slap. He crashed into the colorful candies with great impact.
Everyone, do not underestimate the enemy.
That individual possesses great power, Piccolo immediately warned, opening his mouth to remind the group. The fact that Janemba could send Vegeta flying with a single slap demonstrated his strength. It appears that we'll need to take this fight more seriously. Gohan's expression grew rare and serious. In an instant, he vanished and reappeared directly on the ground.
And the Janemba followed suit. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 39, Janemba in Underworld. Scion Dragon Ball, real author.
Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex.
Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up.
I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up.
Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 39, Janemba in Underworld. Chapter 39, Janemba in Underworld. The impending battle of hell is about to commence.
Meanwhile, in the world of the Supreme Kai, the Elder Supreme Kai has taken on the task of assisting Goten in unlocking his potential.
With each passing minute and second, the elderly king's expression grows increasingly dignified. He senses that Goten possesses an immeasurable potential, like a boundless abyss. However, he realizes that he cannot fully unleash this potential.
Nevertheless, since he made a promise to Goten, he is determined to unlock as much of his potential as possible. As the days go by, 5 days pass in the blink of an eye. The Elder Supreme Kai is already drenched in sweat, struggling to continue.
Eventually, he can no longer endure and sits down on the ground. This performance seems completely different from when he helped Gohan unlock his potential. In Gohan's case, the Elder Supreme Kai remained energetic and well even after the potential was unlocked.
Now, however, he appears worn out, as if he has expended a significant amount of energy. Goten, the unlocking of your potential is complete, the Elder Supreme Kai truthfully informs him, his face fatigued. Witnessing the Elder Supreme Kai's exhausted appearance, Supreme Kai and Kibito rush forward to offer their assistance. Goten gradually opens his eyes, looking at the Elder Supreme Kai and saying, "It's alright, thank you, Elder Supreme Kai." He then stands up and feels the newfound strength coursing through his body.
It is undeniably much more formidable than before, representing a qualitative improvement.
This time, his base combat power has been enhanced, which means that his strength will be even more incredible after his transformation. Goten now possesses the confidence to effortlessly defeat Majin Buu once he achieves the legendary Super Saiyan form again. "Goten, let's test your current strength," the Elder Supreme Kai urges.
"Let me see."
After a brief rest, the Elder Supreme Kai addresses Goten.
"This child possesses an immeasurable potential.
I wonder how strong he has become after unlocking his potential.
Honestly, I'm quite eager to find out."
Elder Kai, why don't you just rest and forget about it? We already know he is powerful, hee. Supreme Kai Shin's face freezes instantly as he quickly tries to dissuade the Elder Supreme Kai. A few days ago, when Goten transformed, God Lam was left in ruins, and they only managed to repair it in the past 2 days. Now that Goten's potential has been unlocked, his strength must be even greater. It is possible that a mere surge of his energy could destroy the entire God realm. Kibito nods vigorously, still haunted by the fear of the past.
"Enough. Look at the two of you, acting as if you've never seen the wider world."
"Goten, pay no attention to them. Let me witness your strength," the Elder Supreme Kai scorns Supreme Kai and Kibito, then resumes speaking to Goten.
"Okay."
Goten can only nod in response, his face immediately adopting a serious expression. Seeing Goten's determined expression, Supreme Kai Shin hastily escorts the Elder Supreme Kai thousands of miles away.
As he clenches his fists, an intense white aura erupts from Goten's body. "Ugh, ha, ha."
Goten lets out a roar, causing the entire God realm to tremble once again. This display of power seems even more terrifying than when he first achieved the legendary Super Saiyan form.
However, unlike last time, Goten is able to control his power perfectly. After briefly experiencing his current basic combat power, Goten withdraws his energy.
Nonetheless, the God realm remains shattered and in ruins. Supreme Kai and Kibito felt like crying, but no tears came. "Looks like I'll be busy for a few more days." The Elder Supreme Kai blinked his eyes, completely dumbfounded. Goten's power just now was indeed incredibly strong, unparalleled in strength.
The worries and fears of Supreme Kai and Kibito were now understandable.
"Ha ha. Sorry, I've caused such destruction in the God realm again," Goten scratched his head and said with an embarrassed smile. He had only briefly unleashed his power and hadn't pushed it to the limit.
Otherwise, the destruction in the God realm would have been even more severe.
"Well, it's alright.
Kibito and I don't have much else to do," Supreme Kai Shin said helplessly.
They couldn't change the fact that the Elder Supreme Kai insisted on seeing Goten's strength. And Supreme Kai Shin sensed that Goten had held back in displaying his full strength since he didn't even transform. Beep beep. At that moment, the crystal ball placed on the nearby table suddenly flickered. Supreme Kai Shin hurried over. "It's a video call from King Kai," Supreme Kai Shin quickly answered the call.
"Hello, King Kai, what do you need?" Supreme Kai asked directly.
"Supreme Kai, something terrible has occurred in the underworld.
A few days ago, a monster made up of countless evil energy emerged, and its strength is unimaginable.
None of our fighters stand a chance against it, so I'm seeking assistance," King Kai explained urgently. The situation had spiraled out of control. Even Goku, Vegeta, and a new guy named Piccin, working together, were no match for Janemba.
When all seemed lost, King Kai made a recommendation.
The person he suggested was Goten, Goku's second son. It was said that Goten possessed even greater power than Goku and might be able to combat the evil energy embodiment Janemba. Since Goten had been under the guidance of Supreme Kai, King Kai turned to him for help. If the Janemba couldn't be stopped, it would disrupt the order of the underworld, leading to chaos. The souls of the deceased would roam aimlessly in the human world, a terrifying thought.
How did this happen?
Supreme Kai pondered for a moment.
The name Goku sounded familiar.
Suddenly, he remembered the similarity to Goten's name and looked at him, asking, "Goten, is Mr. Goku the person mentioned by the King Kai your relative or something?" Yes, Goku is my father who died 8 years ago, Goten replied. Whether he acknowledged it or not, Goku was indeed his father. No one could change that fact. I see, Supreme Kai realized suddenly why Goten was this strong. Supreme Kai, according to what I saw, the Goten beside you possesses extraordinary powers. He may be the only one who can stop the Janemba. I hope he can lend a helping hand to resolve this crisis in the underworld, King Kai straightforwardly addressed them after hearing the conversation between Supreme Kai and Goten. They were truly helpless. In the underworld, Goku was the most powerful. Yet, even Goku would be easily defeated by Janemba. The underworld and their realm kings were utterly incapable of dealing with Janemba. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 40, Fusion Reborn. Scion Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 40, Fusion Reborn. Chapter 40, Fusion Reborn. Is that so? Indeed, it appears that the situation is quite serious, but I need to discuss it with Goten before making a decision. Supreme Kai refrained from making a unilateral decision as he knew he wasn't or couldn't be Goten's master. If he decide on his own and Goten is unwilling when the time comes, it could lead to unnecessary trouble. Moreover, it would be disrespectful to Goten. Goten, you heard what the King Kai just said. Perhaps you are the only one who can confront that Janemba guy. I'm unsure of your thoughts on this matter. Subsequently, Supreme Kai looked at Goten and inquired. If he followed his own reasoning, he naturally wanted Goten to deal with that Janemba. This way, it could potentially prevent any loss of life. After all, when beings from the underworld enter the real world, it will undoubtedly cause a series of panics. Then the world would plunge into chaos. Sorry, I cannot assist you with this matter. The real world and the underworld are two completely different realms, and we should abide by the laws of natural progression. This is what my father and the others have mentioned before. At that time, Earth was in grave danger, but they chose not to be resurrected to protect it. In their words, it's important to follow the law of natural progression. There's no need for the deceased to be continuously resurrected, and thus, the living shouldn't interfere with the affairs of the underworld. Of course, this is just my personal opinion. If you wish to help, it's your prerogative. After all, you are gods, and these matters fall under your jurisdiction. Goten replied in a monotone voice. Although he doesn't reject fighting against Janemba. Perhaps he could even acquire various abilities by battling Janemba. But as Goku said, they should follow the law of natural progression. Therefore, people in the real world need not go to the underworld to resolve their crises. Perhaps he still harbors some grudges from what happened a few years ago. After all, a few years ago, Earth was truly perilous. When Cell returned to Earth, it spelled the end for them. At that time, he could only be saved by defeating Cell. Fortunately, Cell hasn't reappeared in the past few years. Yet Goten remains uneasy. Of course, Chi-Chi and Bulma feel the same way. They still can't comprehend Goku and Vegeta's reasoning back then. Clearly, they could have used the Dragon Balls to resurrect them and protect Earth, but they opted to let events unfold naturally. Upon hearing Goten's cold response, Supreme Kai Shin was left speechless. Unexpectedly, Goten refused so straightforwardly. But given his and Kibito's strength, they likely can't resolve the issue in the underworld. King Kai, Goten cannot assist you with this matter. So, please think of a way to stabilize that Janemba guy, and I will also contemplate a solution here. Supreme Kai could only awkwardly respond. Despite being a distinguished Supreme Kai, his power has its limits, and some matters are simply beyond his capabilities.
Alright. Master Supreme Kai.
King Kai had no choice but to end the call.
It seems that Goku and Vegeta are still the key to vanquishing the Janemba.
After ending the video call, Supreme Kai Shin immediately used the magic crystal ball to observe the happenings in the underworld.
Meanwhile, in the depths of the underworld's hell,
the sky was filled with giant colorful candies.
The figures of Goku and Vegeta soon came into view.
At this moment, other 5 individuals were covered in wounds. After several days of evasive tactics, they not only failed to deplete any of Janemba physical energy, but also put them in a highly disadvantageous position.
Perhaps Janemba didn't want to finish them off just yet, perhaps he wanted to play around.
That's why they were spared from death.
Goten declined my request, King Kai's voice echoed in Goku's mind. He stated that people in the real world should not interfere in the matters of the underworld.
They should let the underworld inhabitants solve their own problems and follow the natural course of development. I'm truly sorry, but we can't be of any assistance.
It's up to you to deal with Janemba now. Goku and Vegeta frowned in response.
They were fully aware of Goten's strength.
With his help, they might have been able to eliminate the Janemba in front of them. But Goten unexpectedly refused. Can Goten resist fighting such a formidable opponent? Goku expressed his surprise.
After all, Saiyans are inherently inclined towards battle.
Goten, with his Saiyan blood, naturally possesses that combative nature.
It's unexpected that he shows no interest in facing such a powerful adversary.
You fool, Kakarot, Vegeta retorted sharply. Can't you see that Kid Goten's words sound very familiar? That's exactly what we told Bulma and the others 8 years ago.
That little brat is clearly holding a grudge against us for refusing to be resurrected.
Brat!
Vegeta couldn't help but curse at Goku, as he recalled the exact words Goten had relayed just now. It was the same sentence they had uttered to Bulma and Chi-Chi 8 years ago when they were about to be revived with the Dragon Balls. It's unbelievable that Goten, a mere brat, would hold on to such grudges.
Oh. Did we really say that?
I forgot. Goku scratched the back of his head, clearly not recalling his statement from 8 years ago.
It does seem so.
Goten and Gohan have completely different personalities, Piccolo chimed in, nodding in agreement. Now it appears that Janemba can only be dealt with by ourselves.
Though Goten is also kind-hearted, his kindness differs greatly from Gohan's.
It's evident that Goten is someone who holds on to grudges.
Since that's the case, there's only one option. Goku's expression turned serious in an instant.
We can create a superior being by using the fusion dance technique from the Metamoran people. Vegeta's face changed upon hearing the word fusion, displaying a repulsive expression.
The majestic Saiyan Prince, the proud warrior, would never agree to something like fusion dance.
Vegeta, the fusion between the two of us is the most effective, Goku spoke to Vegeta with utmost seriousness. They understood each other very well, and Vegeta's understanding of Goku surpassed even that of Gohan. Thus, Vegeta was the best candidate for fusion.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Chapter 41, Failed Fusion Fat Viku.